I'm Alfred Saucedo, Chief of Staff to EPA Region 5 Regional Administrator Deborah Shore, based in Chicago. As Regional Administrator, Deborah leads approximately 1,000 EPA scientists, engineers, and program staffs in their efforts to protect human health and the environment across our 6-state region, including Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, as well as 35 tribal nations. She's joined here today by many of you already know Mayor Bibb. Since taking office at the beginning of last year, one of his priorities has included investing in and revitalizing neighborhoods. Mayor Bibb was born and raised in Cleveland, and over the past 15 years has worked in government, business, and the nonprofit sector as an executive and nonprofit leader. Thank all of you for coming as we announce EPA's cleanup of completing the EPA's cleanup of the Diamond Hard Chrome site. With that, I will turn it over to Regional Administrator Shore.
Thank you, Alfred, and good afternoon, everyone. As noted, I'm Deborah Shore. I'm the Regional Administrator for US EPA Region 5, and today we're celebrating and marking a terrific achievement for the City of Cleveland, which is that EPA's hazardous waste cleanup of the Diamond Hard Chrome site is complete. This milestone marks the first step in the site's return to potential redevelopment and productive reuse. Take a good look now, because this derelict former manufacturing site, where now all the hazardous chemicals have been removed, I predict in a few years you won't recognize this site. This will be a thriving hub and a corner landmark of a redeveloped corridor. This site has a storied past. With the fire that destroyed the original facility in 1991, your vehicles over there are parked on asphalt covering the former facility. And the hazardous materials left behind in the wake of the plant's closure just a few years ago. Hexavalent chromium, lead, and other heavy metal contamination posed a critical threat to the communities and ecosystems that neighbor this site. Along with our state and local partners, EPA has removed hundreds of tons of contaminated debris and thousands of gallons of corrosive chemicals. The result of this work removes the immediate environmental threat to the surrounding central Cleveland area. Cleaning up legacy pollution in historically underserved and overburdened areas is a top priority for the Biden-Harris administration. The commitment of $5 billion for site remediation and land revitalization will result in environmentally just, climate-resilient communities across the country and here in Ohio. I know how important climate resilience is to Mayor Bibb. In fact, I attended the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative annual general meeting earlier this week, where mayors across the Great Lakes Basin adopted a resolution crafted by Mayor Bibb, an exhortation to municipalities across the region to adopt inclusive and equitable climate action plans. In addition to calling for major reduction in carbon emissions, this pledge is a significant commitment to ensure the safety of communities for generations to come by emphasizing preventive action now to avoid future environmental catastrophes. EPA's cleanups at sites like Diamond Hard Chrome enable cities and communities to reclaim and reuse thousands of formerly contaminated properties. And it's through such strong partnerships that we will realize the spirit of Mayor Bibb's resolution. I want to now turn it over to Mayor Bibb.
So much. I want to just first thank the regional administrator for being here in Cleveland today. And as the regional administrator mentioned, today's announcement of a nearly $2 million investment to redevelop this site and make it clean and ready for development just is another example of this president and this vice president's commitment to rebuild back our country one city at a time. As many of you know, redeveloping this part of the city is a major priority for our administration. On top of our $50 million investment to revitalize Cleveland's southeast side, our administration recognizes the importance of taking thousands of acres of brownfield sites all across our city to turn them into greenfield productive sites and create good paying jobs in our city. We're also using $50 million of American Rescue Plan investments that we received from the Biden-Harris administration to do just that, which we believe will create over 65,000 new jobs all across the city of Cleveland. And so we're so excited for this announcement today. There's a lot more work to do, but today's announcement is another example of this president committing to investing in Cleveland, and I believe we are just getting started. So again, I want to thank the regional administrator for being here today. I also want to make sure. There we go. He's happy about it too. I also want to make sure that we let Administrator Regan know that we want him to come back to Cleveland at some point again soon. Administrator Regan was here last year twice. First, to talk about the great work that the EPA is doing with Cleveland to make sure we address the lead pipe crisis in our city, and also to commemorate the 50-year anniversary of the Clean Water Act. So we have a strong relationship with the federal EPA, and also a strong relationship with the Ohio EPA as well too. And these partnerships mean a lot to us to make sure that our city get these sites back in productive use long term. So I want to thank everyone for being here, and thank all the workers at EPA for your hard work to make this possible. Let's give them a round of applause. And I'm sure the regional administrator and I will be free to take a few questions.
So did the city put any money into this, or was this all an EPA investment?
So far, all EPA, but now it's ready to be redeveloped, and that can be worked out with the property owner.
And how did you pick this site for remediation?
Well, it had been a troubled site for a while, and Ohio EPA has had several enforcement actions here, and we were notified that the owners of the site were preparing to shut down their operation and walk away from it. And somebody needed to be there to make sure it didn't pose a significant threat to the community with the toxic chemicals remaining on site. And that's what EPA does. We're here to protect public health and the environment.
Now, does the EPA intend to recoup some of the costs associated with remediation and cleanup, and how does the agency go about recouping those costs?
We endeavor to, if there is a principal responsible party, through legal means and otherwise, to recoup costs. We're not always able to do that. And so we will attempt to do so in this case, but don't know how successful we'll be.
In Cleveland, in other cities in this part of the country, a long and storied history with industry and heavy manufacturing. This site is one of dozens. What is the greatest challenge in remediating and repurposing a site like that? And what is the biggest obstacle in doing more of them?
So I'm going to ask Eric Cole, who's our on-scene coordinator and oversaw the work here, to answer at least part of your question, which is the challenges in addressing sites like this and this one. But fortunately, through the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act, EPA and many other federal agencies have significant resources. Superfund program got billions more and reinstated the Superfund tax, which will provide ongoing support for cleaning up those sites designated on the national priorities list. This is a brownfield site, right?
It's a state RCRA site.
It's a state site, and there are other support for that. Our Brownfields program also got a big injection from the bipartisan infrastructure law. But Eric, why don't you talk about the specific challenges of the site like this?
Thank you, Eric Cole, the Federal On-Scene Coordinator with EPA Region 5. Major challenge here in a site acids, the other heavy metals that were just stored here. We removed over 200 tons of solid waste, high hazard solid waste, and over 10,000 gallons of liquid waste. And obviously getting that material out of here safely while protecting our employees and our workers and our contractors is the utmost concern for us. So the difficulty stems from using respirators and protective equipment to make sure that all the folks and the community are safe while we were undertaking this action.
And Mayor, when you see a property like this, even in its current condition, what do you see?
Opportunity. That's why we're so excited about our $50 million site fund to redevelop over 1,000 acres of vacant land, because we believe those sites can be put to good productive use to attract and retain new companies so that our residents can have jobs in their neighborhood, a job they can walk to. And as our colleague mentioned earlier, think about all the children who rode their bike or walk down the street who may have been exposed. That's why this work is so important. That's why our administration is so keen to have a good working relationship with Ohio EPA and the federal EPA as well too. And that's why we've been so aggressive to make sure that we get our fair share of resources coming from the Inflation Reduction Act and the bipartisan infrastructure bill, because we can't do it alone at City Hall. We have finite resources, but this shows the true power of a strong state partnership and a strong partnership with the federal government at the city level.
So it looks like the company still has the title to the property
Yeah.
right now. Would you want the city to take it over so you could add it to the sites fund?
Well, we want to have larger sites in our sites fund,
Okay.
but our administration, as my colleague just mentioned earlier before the press conference started, we're going to be in active conversations with the site owner of this site and also whoever owns that parcel of land over there as well too, to see what we can kind of combine together. Yep.
When looking at all of these different parcels scattered throughout the city, in what to target with the city's injection of ARPA money, what is kind of your compass in what sites get remediated, what sites are made shovel ready? Are you looking for ones that are combined or are close to each other so you get more bang for your buck? Kind of walk me through your process.
Well, as we were constructing the $50 million site fund that we hopefully will raise another $50 million to create a $100 million site readiness fund for good jobs. The first thing we were looking for is what sites does the city currently own? So we have ownership of those parcels. We did a study last year that was funded by the Soares Institute, and we found that we own about a third of the vacant land in the city, about 1,000 acres of vacant land. And then now with the county land bank, we can take a look at those properties that are adjacent to those good sites as well. And we're also in early conversations with the state to see through the state forfeiture process where we have opportunities to combine all those sites together. But the big priority for the site fund is sites that are large scale, so 20, 30, 40 acres of land, because that's what we're hearing from companies right now. They need those large sites, particularly in advanced manufacturing, in healthcare, and IT, to really bring back jobs to our city. Okay.
So like
Awesome.
that.
Thank
Have a
you
good
very
weekend,
much.
everybody. Thank you.